So making Arduino builds is super fun, but what's not fun is waiting a bunch of weeks for parts when you want to prototype an idea. So today I'll be talking about a super slept on free simulation website called TinkerCAD Circuits and how you can use it to simulate your Arduino builds. TinkerCAD is an online simulator that lets you test and prototype your circuits and scripts. Not only is it a great prototyping tool, it's a great way to learn programming and circuits in general. And it's browser based, so you don't need to download anything. Logging in is a super straightforward process. Just go to tinkercad.com and make a free account. Once you make the account, you'll be taken to your home page. Click Circuits and then create New Circuit to start a new project. So this is a workspace. It's super simple and intuitive and pretty easy to use. So let's take a quick tour of this interface. Feel free to skip this section if you want to get straight into the circuit tutorial. So starting from the top, this is the name of the document. You can change it by clicking it and typing in whatever name you want. So I'd say let's name it LED 1. And then now down to the taskbar, this button rotates your component. I'll show more of this in the actual tutorial. And then next thing, this trash icon deletes a part. These are your undo and redo buttons. This is the note tool, which allows you to write notes in the workspace. And you can click this button to hide or show all the notes in a workspace. These are the wire tools. You can change the color or type of wire. And then here is the code button, which takes you to the actual script. So the simulation button, which starts the circuit, is over here. And then the export button, which allows you to export a circuit to a .brd layout, is over here. And that will allow you to make PCBs, which is pretty cool. And then you have the share button, which shares a link to this project that anyone can view because it's technically in the cloud. So anybody can view this from any browser, which is pretty cool. You can even put it on mobile browsers too. And then here is my favorite section, the sidebar. This comprises of all the components and starter kits, and this is where you'll be doing the programming. So starting with the components, you can browse a variety of components that you can use for your circuit. There's also a cool component set called starters. This section has pre-built Arduino and basic circuits, and it's a super great way to start off a project if you're not familiar with Arduino in general. Then lastly, when you click the code button and add a programmable component like an Arduino into the workspace, you can actually start the programming. So you can actually use block programming or text programming. I typically use text programming because that's what I'm comfortable with, but block programming is a great way for beginners to learn Arduino and just programming in general. So I'll actually be going over block programming and just Arduino syntax in detail in another video series. So feel free to like and subscribe to my channel so that you can stay tuned for that. Alright, so if you click the text button, you can start typing in the Arduino C language. And pro tip, if you use a starter kit, all that programming is done already, so it's a super great way to have a starting point for simple projects. As you can see, TinkerCAD is super useful and super powerful, but it has its limitations. It's missing many of the more advanced components like stepper motors, OLED displays, and moisture sensors, just to name a few. Also, running a simulation is surprisingly highly computing intensive, especially for older computers like mine. And this won't really be a problem for most modern laptops, but if you're like me, you might want to close a few tabs before running a simulation. Lastly, I think the programming IDE can be a bit more powerful. Things like a dark mode and autocomplete features that are commonplace in most IDEs would be a welcome addition. In conclusion, TinkerCAD is a super convenient way to test out your Arduino code and builds before making the real thing. Using TinkerCAD or any simulator really helps out decreasing the time spent debugging hardware issues. Although it has its limitations, I recommend using TinkerCAD for beginners or even seasoned makers to improve your prototyping workflow.